All right. I got a car proposal I'm working on, but I'm propped up here, and one of my other subscribers, Sakina Automotive, he did a YouTube video. Literally just uploaded something in the process of me filming like a job diagnosing some noise, but I think it's BS. I mean, he's talking about the coronavirus, and hell, let's talk about the coronavirus. And I guess it's kind of like in response to him. You know, I'm just not going to show my face. This vehicle is my avatar. That's me, right? I think I got another video of my face showing, but I'm not that attractive anyway. So I digress. Hey, look. So I'm a freelance this because I'm pretty sure everybody got their own personal perception on it. I am not religious. I'm more of like had a humanitarian type logic. I can give two shits about a Jesus or somebody's God. So I guess coming from a realistic standpoint, um, I think the I don't think I'm gonna have some affirmation. I know the coronavirus is like BS, and I mean, and I'm hear me out, hear me out. All right, and I understand how the media can have so much influence on people to where they have very little skepticism. They're not really they don't have their own logic, and which is understandable. We're just a collaboration of ideas. If that make any sense. But I mean, but a lot of people don't want to have their own idea because it's inconvenient. It takes a lot to think, which is understandable, completely understandable. If I was a sheep, I would just kind of follow suit everybody else. But you still have those people that want to have their own individuality, and we're all the same. We have the same concerns. We just have those things that we cannot talk about because those are hot button topics. Religion, politics, and sex. We're not supposed to talk about those things. Why can't we talk about it when it's something that we literally all think about daily? Because they're controversial topics. We're it's ingrained to us that we're not supposed to bring these things up. We're supposed to keep it away from everybody else. And we get what we got. This is society, which is understandable, but behind closed doors, fuck, everybody's a freaking freak, right? So hey, it is what it is. But I mean, I got a few things I can talk about. I mean, I've had a lot of interaction with people and discussing this, and just to pick their brain, get their thoughts on it. But I will say, just to backtrack again, I think it's BS, and I think the numbers. Well, I don't think if you look at the numbers of how pneumonia cases, influenza cases impact the United States and just the world around, especially the places that are capable of having statistical data or is better at um, retaining data, having some census. United States isn't perfect, but the good thing is we have a lot of information out there for us. The internet's there. It's history. History is designed not to repeat itself. So if we go back and look at how the things have impacted us in the past, we have information. We have something that is set in stone. We have something that we can reflect on and see the trends, the patterns. You know, and I'm look. So my sister sent something, some link. It's on my phone, and I'm filming on my phone, so I can't tell you. But it's something about the coronavirus, and it's constantly updated by the government as far as the keeping tracks from the global pandemic. So and I think a lot of people getting that confused. Yes, it's a pandemic, but at the same time, it's not an epidemic. Not a lot of people are dying from this, but people are dying from it. So, but again, if you look at the statistical data with pneumonia cases and influenza cases, people die annually at astronomical rates, at unfathomable rates, from the individual perspective. We don't know over 100 people. So it's unfathomable if over 100 people die. It's like, oh shit, that's a lot of damn people. A couple people, I mean, put it this way. You look at the news and somebody hears 10 people die in a shooting. That's a lot of people. You take the whole racist thing with the white people shooting up a lot of people in clusters. You know, all white people are bad. But yet, if you take the literal epidemic of us black people shooting people at disproportionate rates, oh well, that's swept under the rug. So I guess in when looked at in small numbers over a long span of time, it can be overlooked. But when it's in large numbers in a short span, then we can say, this is definitely an epidemic here from the individual perspective versus looking at the actual trend. So a person that died a day isn't as bad as like 20 people dying from a mass shooting, So, and I guess from an individual epistemological approach, that's where they're going to assume is their truth. I mean, you can see how much justification an individual needs just to accept their inevitable truth, that what's demonstrable to them. So it's understandable to a degree, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man, let's not be intellectually dishonest here. Death's inevitable. It's going to happen, but let's just look at let's look at the numbers here. And again, like I said, the United States are pretty good at keeping numbers. So, and I from a 2017 and 2018 statistic here, there was I would pose the question to a person like, how many people died in 2017, 2018? They'd be like, oh, I don't know. I would literally revise the question in 3 different ways, and still wouldn't get a response. And I think the most I got was 1 million, but it was actually 2.8 million reported deaths in 2017 and 2018. And there's 328 million people in the United States. Okay, that's pennies. That's fractions on a dollar here, But these are 2.8 million people dying is like unfathomable. We don't hear about this. We see what we see on the news, and then we think, oh man, that's tragic. It's bad. This is a problem. We need to do something about it. Then we don't. We don't. But even with the influenza, I think there was the average is about 36,000 annual deaths from pneumonia cases alone. So they're like millions and millions and millions of cases worldwide or globally with deaths from influenza. But as far as pneumonia going here in the United States, I think its average is about 36 to 50,000 deaths annually. We don't hear about those, nor do we get a lot of information on when we do hear about them. And this kind of goes into another problem I have, like a pet peeve with just society and just in general. Death is always put under the rug here. It's swept under the rug. We don't talk about it. It's something that's naturally occurring, and I can't imagine there ever being any controversial topics when we literally eat and shit and breathe the same way just like anybody else. So, I mean, this happens day to day. We just can't talk about it, which is understandable to a degree for, I guess, satiating or, I don't know, some emotional well-being or self-preservation, some preservation of some emotion, I guess, rejection. I don't know, but I understand why we can't talk about it because of, potential blackmail, this social peer pressure, the outlooks from our peers. But it happens. But I mean, if everybody just like look at the numbers from just the past cases with influenza, pneumonia, you'll see that they're really reflective of current times or what we're being told, And then the biggest thing is like quarantining people. One of the other things, hell, I can't go to the gym. Okay, I haven't been to the gym in a while, and it's like pissing me off. It's just like this is stupid. This is really stupid. All right, can't take my girlfriend out to eat. Can't go to the gym. But I've been doing a lot more kayaking, fishing, and the work is slow. So I'm good on money financially. Like hell, we can stop working for a week. They can shut this bitch down for several years. I'm good, But I mean, I'm not boasting by any means. Not boasting. I'm poor. I'm the poorest person I know. I don't have any money. But the thing is, every individual have their own accountability. Some people didn't save money for this situation, which is understandable. A lot of Americans don't save. I think the numbers by when you're 30 years old, you're supposed to have around 50,000 saved up. And I'm not sure if that's including retirement. People don't even have like 3 months of livable income, even at minimum. And you got people that are doomsday preppers. You got people that are money hoarders, and you got broke people. I call it moderation. You know, it's that restorative balance. We have to have people above, below, and on our same level, but we can see what happens on all standards. I think that's called the law of 33%. You know, you have people around you so you can increase your life quality. But I digress. But it's creating it's creating pandemonium. Well, I don't think we haven't hit that stage yet, but it's creating a lot of frustration. People are getting laid off the jobs, no hours, but at least the states is willing to make accommodations. But everybody has to be on board to make accommodations. So, um, man, I would, but it snowballs and it trickle downs to every independent business owner. So I guess what Shakina did mention about the jobs and people professioning, hell, mechanic work, or when they told you in school to learn a trade, or you're from us guys. I don't know about women, but they told us like, hey, learn a trade, learn a skill. This was that thing. But I'm 34, so it was a thing back in the day. I don't know how that works out with the Gen X. I think it's Gen X, the people that were the generation after me. But yeah, learn a trade. Work with your hands. So, but yeah, it's going to affect the businesses, because the businesses that can't keep people employed, the good thing is, well, people can potentially save money, but they can't save money if they're not working. Business can't keep their doors open if people are not spending money, and they try to make up the difference with food delivery, but I don't think that makes up a majority of the income, floating around here, because people still aren't spending money to keep things circulating. So, as far as my business, it has affected a little bit. My work isn't that grand. I mean, I hit a couple cars a day, but I mean that, you know. But then again, it's still relative to an individual, because again, I would hope that everybody has a means of saving. Uh, so, but I mean, I can understand the frustration, because a lot of people don't plan for this, and it's just going to either break up a lot of people, or in the next year, we're going to be having an influx of births because everybody's stuck in the house. So, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else did Shakina bring up. I really didn't look at the video, because I told her I'm not religious. That's BS. He brought up some other things. Probably been better if I would have wrote this stuff down. But like I said, I'm freelancing. But I remember I went kayaking a little while ago. It was actually a couple days ago, and I noticed mannerisms, I look people patterns. I'm not the psychological whisperer of understanding people. I guess if that makes any sense, but I remember the guy. I started bringing it up. Well, let me tell you this. I docked so I can get up and go to the restroom, and I passed by him, and I go to get my oar to get back in my kayak. I'm like, what the hell's my oar at? He's like, you looking for that thing out there? And it floated out in the middle of the water. I'm like, shit. But luckily, the water was pretty choppy that day, and it wouldn't want to bring him back to shore. But anyway, me and him started talking about the coronavirus, and he had his little child with him, and I brought up death. I said, do you know the death rates of the corona? Death rates in comparison to pneumonia cases. And he's like, as he looks down at his child. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I understand people, it's your child, you raise your children how you want to. But it made me think a lot, though. Like it like how we tend to shun things, like information, like realistic information, things that literally happen day to day from the ones that we love, and meaning love in the context of the ones that we care about. So, but at the same time, we do it to preserve their cognitive well-being. So, he gave me that look like, oh, well, we don't need to talk about this, which is understandable. By his logic, we shouldn't be we shouldn't be bringing up mortality rates or anything that could be cognitively detrimental to a child's psyche. So I beg to differ, because death has no age limit. But it made me think a lot about the population just in general, just like a little bit of census. Like, hey, well, you can't bring up certain things to certain people because they are going to get butthurt about it. I guess, I guess being that it was kept away, if it is kept away, we don't have to worry about it. But when it does happen, it's a surprise. Like, oh man, I can't believe this. I can't believe this happened. But it happens. It happens every day. It's happening every second. Death is inevitable. But I'm saying it in context of how conversation can be had and made into a useful resource of peace of mind. And I understand, and I don't want to go into the whole religion thing, but I understand why people have religion. And I think Shakina did bring. I know I'm going in that rabbit hole, but I know Shakina brought up the whole simple fact that God is probably angry with us or something along the lines of that. And I didn't really go into that. I kind of zoned out. It was totally my ignorance, my fault. But I'm not closed-minded. It's just that when people started using God as justification for things, it's just like I just kind of let's listen to something that's tangible, realistic, things that happen here and now. Which is understandable. It's just that, like, well, if I'm in trouble, I need things that I can grasp. I need resources I can see and get my hands on to where it's going to have some substance, to get me out of this situation. And again, people like to exercise faith, knowing without definitive proof by definition. Hey, go for it. I don't work on my vehicles with faith. I actually put my hands on it, diagnose it, and get down to the problem, what's going on with it, and I fix it on my own, by myself, with my resources that I can obtain and put into practice. But yeah, but conversations, if we had a lot more of them, it would definitely put us in a better situation with communicating with ourselves. With self-reassurance, being more helpful with others. It would be more of a progressive sense. I guess, if that makes any sense. So if it would help with compromise, and I guess compromise is one of my conversation topics. If two people disagree, how do you get two people to be met in the middle? And depending on who you talk to, some people are going to completely beg differ that there's never going to be any compromise, but somebody's going to either have to lose out on it and accept the fact that they're going to have to lose out on it. But conversation is very important. It's a must that have to be had, but at the same time, again, I understand. It seems like there's more justification not to have a conversation and to leave everything behind the scenes to the point where there's some spontaneity. Like, the person has to fill in the blank. If that makes any sense. Point being, we can't have a conversation with someone without changing their outlook on us. If I say something, give you a prime example. If I say, hey, I sucked 8 cocks, if I said some shit like that, you'd be like, oh, that thought that you had before that has now deviated. You don't think of me the same way. That didn't happen, but that was just an analogy. Don't get weeded up in an analogy there. But you see where I'm coming from. Like, so I understand why we can't have conversations, and that's what I'm going after. So I understand why we don't talk about certain things, but it is very necessary for us to establish some line of communication, and especially some level of compromise, things would be dealt with so much easier. But then again, I think that will probably be boring, you know. So, I mean, I guess it's like a video game. It wouldn't be so interesting playing a video game when you got all the cheat codes versus having to figure it out and learn a lesson, you know. But it is what it is. I don't know how far I went off from talking about the coronavirus, but again, the whole point was that little spew that I went on was about a conversation and how important it is, and I think that would definitely help or aid in our current situation in dealing with this. So, but it still goes back to the level of skepticism the general public has, as far as I consider them being a sheep. And who knows, I might be a sheep myself by somebody else's context, by somebody else's logic. But you know, I beg to differ. But I understand everybody try to find their own individuality. But at the same time, you know, take something at face value, even though their literal observation does not offer any justification to accept what another person says, makes no logical sense to me. So, but I think, mark my words on this. Italy's death toll, I think, it's right at 6,000 right now. And from the numbers I looked up with Italy, they should be, if my numbers are correct, within the next 6 months, if they're still talking about this, and if there is still talking about this. So I'm pretty sure every month it should rise 3,000. 2,500 to 3,000 deaths. And I excuse me, I can't be really specific because, I mean, I looked up their death statistics in comparison to pneumonia cases. But in regards to influenza and pneumonia, the EU did have like the highest number at 100,000 at one point in time. Geographically, I'm not well put together, but as far as Italy go, I want to say their death should be around 2,500, 3,000 monthly, but that's still a normal average for them from the statistical data that I found. I am no statistician, so statistician, yeah. So that's just from what I found out, and that's my justification for just assuming. And I know how they say with assumptions make an ass of you and me, but I'll be more than happy to make an ass of myself with what I know is seemingly make perfect sense. That I don't know anyone that's dying from this. People get pneumonia daily. People die daily. The statistics in the past don't lie. I can just get a general average about how many people are just going to expire as a result of getting pneumonia or some type of influenza type disease. So, I mean, this is just my projection. Since the United States had around about 36,000, I mean, I'm pretty sure we can expect that to be somewhere around between 36 and 50,000 annually also. I mean, you just divide up in a couple months, you know, in 12 months and get like an average. You know, so these numbers are completely normal. People are still getting shot and dying every day, but we're not talking about that. You know, I'm still reading news articles about people getting shot in the head or in my area. So, I mean, these things still happen. People are still in the hospitals. The elderly still expire just like everybody else. Kids are being born every day and still expire just like everybody else. These are deaths that are being accounted for. Death is inevitable and it's normal. But so I'm projecting Italy to gross around, since they generally have the highest death toll, I guess, with influenza. But they are predominantly white, like 92% white. So y'all crackers be flying every damn where, and us Negroes don't. So, and it's strange. That's another reason why. So us niggas out here up in Africa, even though I know they say it doesn't thrive in hot climates, but even in Liberia, you take this. This is another justification. This is when I would literally start like worrying, like, oh shit, we got a problem here. When the third world countries or the places with the worst healthcare ever start burning their bodies. They have 2 cases, I think it's like a 4 right now as of today, but there's no death toll. Remember Ebola? Remember that was a thing. People are still dying over there from Ebola, but that hasn't engulfed their civilization. They haven't been taken out as a result of it. So evidently something, these diseases that are out here aren't that detrimental and are completely normal and capable of being eradicated by our current technologies and abilities, which is a great thing because modern medicine is like the shit. But once like these third world countries or these poorest of poor countries with the worst healthcare, worst sources of food and water start burning their bodies, then we worry. Until then, I think this is just a ploy to show the people from the news how much they got people by the nuts. All right, and obviously they do, because people are following suit of their instructions, which is understandable. It's okay, but I wish the news media would give more substance to the mind when it comes to the person getting data. I wish they gave more as far as the race, age, sex. If was there any other health complications, and again, it still goes back to how we treat people. When somebody dies, we don't talk about that. We don't talk about how that person died. We don't learn a lesson from it. We just hear the end game. We don't take what we can to prevent this from happening in the future, because we're so concerned about the here and now and our lifestyles. So it would be nice if like, hey, Jonathan passed away from what is suspected to be pneumonia, but Jonathan also was 400 pounds and had diabetes and was 70 years old. So, I mean, what did he die from? Was it natural causes or just like his lifestyle? So, but hey, look, if somebody disagree, hey, put in the comment section. I love interacting with people. Throw it out there. If as long as not no trolling video, trolling comment, hey, I don't mind interacting. But look, I'm gonna get out of here because I do want to fucks with this car, get this knocked out. But again, I mean, as far as my thoughts on this coronavirus, I think it's BS. And until they start burning bodies, I don't give a shit. And I think it's really deteriorating my lifestyle and a lot of other people's because of some fabricated virus that is suspected to be so unique and detrimental to civilization that we have to quarantine everybody else. Even though when everybody is unquarantined or everybody's out of quarantine, somebody's going to have it, and it still should be a vicious cycle of starting over again. So this virus technically should be circular, and we should be in the same state during the winter. Okay, and also the peak of influenza is around this time also. The peak of February and transitioning into spring, from what I understand. And then it will die off. Oh, my battery got 15% on it. Shucks. So I'm just looking at the context clues here of how BS this is. I don't know if anybody got the same logic. I haven't heard it yet. I say what's gonna happen. 6 months from now, it's gonna be forgot about, just like Ebola, H1N1, SARS, MRSA, whatever, all the other viruses that came out years ago that were supposedly pandemic. And pandemic isn't an epidemic. Again, these are not like something that is a pandemic. Is just basically it's just a widespread disease, infectious disease around, like, it's global. That's it. It's not like an epidemic where it's just something that is so detrimental in a small cluster, like concentrated area. So again, I'm just looking at the context clues here. I'm not going to be pain is following suit like everybody else. People can wear masks or whatever. I'm a completely healthy individual. I just got back problems from being bodybuilders. So that's it. Other than that, it's going to, after 6 months, it's going to be forgot about, swept under the rug. We're going to go on about our lives. And nothing is until, I guess, the next couple years. We're going to have another virus come out. And everybody's going to be in the same uproar as if this wasn't a thing. So there's a trend here. There's a trend happening. But I'll be crazy though. I'll be that crazy one. I don't think there's anything else I'd add. I think I talked for 30 minutes. Wow. Yeah. Straight up, just kind of. There wasn't a diatribe by any means. This was totally just conversation. All right, hit that link. Subscribe to the channel. Stay informed. Have that reassurance of my work, even though I didn't work on anything. See you on the next one.